I have my pillow. I sleep across this way. This is my sleeping bag. So I'm very upset at that because, I mean, this is just typical of LA politics. It's very negligent. When it comes to services, when it comes to help, yes, the homeless are usually the last in line to receive many services.
It's once again raising questions about those who have no home to shelter in.
It would have been nice to have a bed to sleep in, a hot shower every day. I only shower maybe once or twice a week because I have to go out of my way to find a hot shower. It would have improved the quality of my life greatly.
Scrolling through social media, you will see plenty of folks claiming the city offers a helping hand, only for the unhoused to flat out reject it. Others are absolutely convinced that the vast majority of them are either battling severe mental health issues or lost in the dark grip of addiction. Yet, every time I walk away from these conversations, there is one massive question that absolutely refuses to leave my mind. If their desperate pleas for help fall on deaf ears, what good are those empty promises anyway? Are local leaders actually stepping up, or are they just putting on a massive PR stunt to keep the public quiet? Why is it that when they desperately need a safe place to sleep, their names just sit rotting on a wait list for months and years without a single update? The reality on the streets is far more heartbreaking than most of us can even imagine. The housing crisis is terrible, but it also exposes the massive gap between empty political rhetoric and actual boots on the ground support. And right now, I am going to show you exactly how far things have completely spiraled out of control in this state. It is a place where, just by taking a quick look around, you realize these forgotten souls have never caught a single lucky break in their entire lives. The latest data paints a grim picture of California that feels entirely unrecognizable. These statistics completely shatter the classic illusion of the Golden State being a magical land filled with endless sunshine and the American dream. Official reports from the year 2025 reveal that Los Angeles County alone has tracked a staggering 72,195 individuals living without a permanent roof over their heads. If you look strictly at the Los Angeles city limits, that number already hits an unbelievable 43,695 people out on the streets. Meanwhile, San Diego County reported exactly 9,905 cases, while Santa Clara County heartbreakingly documented 10,711 individuals forced to sleep outside in the harsh elements. This overwhelming data exposes a dark side of California that the general public almost never gets to witness firsthand. Even though a few specific areas show tiny glimmers of hope, like San Diego dropping by 7%, or certain Los Angeles neighborhoods seeing a slight dip in street camps, the overall big picture remains incredibly bleak and depressing. Far too many of our fellow Americans are still barely surviving without shelter, exposed on the concrete, huddled inside flimsy tents, or trying to live out of completely broken down cars. These are not just cold, meaningless numbers printed on a spreadsheet. Behind every single statistic is a real human being who once had a comfortable home, a steady job, and big dreams, but now wakes up absolutely terrified about where they will safely sleep tonight. The detailed survey highlights exactly how brutally this massive crisis has swept through everyday neighborhoods across the entire state, literally turning countless public parks and normal sidewalks into makeshift, day-to-day survival camps. It also paints a stark picture of the massive, growing divide between the extreme wealth of California and the brutal, heartbreaking poverty happening right down on the pavement. These reports illustrate a completely different side of California. It is a harsh reality where thousands of forgotten people have to fight tooth and nail every single day just to find a shred of peace and safety. From a deeply human perspective, these statistics act as a massive wake-up call that a life-altering tragedy can strike absolutely anyone. If this honest, unfiltered look touches your heart, please go ahead and hit the like button on this video. Welcome back to the Homeless People Stories channel. Can you imagine the absolute, overwhelming heartbreak when you finally realize those massive data points are actually flesh and blood human beings, desperately fighting to survive a brutal, unending storm every single day of their lives? Please stick around until the very end of this video to truly understand the heavy, exhausting burdens that weigh them down from the second the sun comes up. The crushing humiliation that countless individuals out in California are forced to carry on their shoulders. Pitching a tent for just one night can easily spiral into a lifetime of endless instability. Throwing up a cheap tent for the night might seem like a temporary fix, but for countless folks in California, it becomes the tragic starting point of a completely dark and aimless existence. In bustling areas like downtown Los Angeles or along the busy streets of San Francisco, thousands of people are forced into this exact same routine the second the sun starts going down, popping open a beaten-up tent, or scraping together some cardboard and plastic tarps, just to build a fragile shelter right on the sidewalk or hidden away under a noisy highway overpass. According to official records from the year 2025, Kern County counted exactly 2,606 unhoused people. And out of those, it's a staggering 1,393 souls were left completely unsheltered, toughing it out in the harsh outdoors. Every single late afternoon, these struggling individuals frantically search for a quiet, hidden corner that offers just a tiny sliver of safety before the pitch-black night swallows everything whole. They tightly grip onto their few meager belongings and rush to set up camp, fully knowing they could be kicked out at a moment's notice if they break a city ordinance or a local resident files a complaint. The mental toll is absolutely soul-crushing. Many openly admit that deep anxiety constantly eats away at them, simply because they have no idea if tonight's sleeping spot will still be theirs when tomorrow rolls around. Without a permanent mailing address or a secure place to lock up their stuff, the very idea of peace completely vanishes the second the sun dips below the horizon. Their days are spent fiercely fighting for jobs or begging for basic aid, while their nights are spent wide awake, constantly looking over their shoulders in pure paranoia. They jump at every single footstep, utterly terrified that someone will steal their last bit of food, or they just struggle to catch a few winks of sleep on the freezing concrete. What starts as just a desperate one-night fix often drags on into agonizing weeks, long months, or even totally buries them in years of barely scraping by on the streets. Without a real home base to return to, all their future dreams just vanish into thin air. Showing up for job interviews becomes a million times harder, and their personal belongings either get lost or slowly ruined over time. Being constantly chased from block to block slowly chips away at their very last ounce of hope. It is agonizing to watch a normal life slip completely out of reach, replaced by this endless, exhausting loop of tent survival. Tapping into our shared human compassion, this footage hits us hard with the terrifying reality of just how incredibly fragile our own comfort and security truly are. Disaster can be lurking right around the corner for absolutely any of us, easily pushing a stable life into total darkness. If this raw, unfiltered look at street survival sparks any sense of empathy inside you, please drop a like right here on the Homeless People Stories channel. Why does just a split-second decision to pitch a quick overnight tent suddenly plunge a person into a deep, incredibly unstable black hole for the rest of their entire life? What actually happens when there is no longer a warm, lit house waiting for you to come home? Do not click away just yet, because the final moments of this video will give you a much deeper, eye-opening perspective. A crystal clear picture of the daily, suffocating humiliations that completely surround so many forgotten souls out in California. Number 3. Just how brutal is it to face the extreme elements out in California? Not only does street life swallow you whole with the fear of being unhoused, but it also violently slams people with endless, agonizing hardships day after day. Real-time data surveys from the year 2025 show that San Diego County alone locked in a heartbreaking count of 5,714 exhausted people surviving directly on the cold city streets. At the exact same time, Los Angeles County is still painfully witnessing roughly 47,450 human beings barely clinging to life, simply because they desperately lack a basic roof over their heads. Even with fewer tents lining San Francisco streets, folks are still roughing it inside their cars or flimsy makeshift shelters. The reality is absolutely brutal. Summer heat turns sidewalks, cars, and tarps into blazing ovens, while winter storms leave every single blanket soaking wet, leaving them freezing with nowhere to hide. Out in the Bay Area, That damp fog and wet night air just chill you right to the bone, making sleep practically impossible. Without access to clean water or decent restrooms, just trying to stay washed up turns into an exhausting daily battle. You hear so many folks talk about that quiet burnout of waking up freezing, constantly dreading the next weather shift, never catching a moment of true peace. When you lack a roof over your head, simple stuff like catching a nap, grabbing a bite, or washing up will completely drain your energy. Down in Santa Clara, which counted over 7,000 unhoused folks in 2025. This harsh environment just constantly grinds people down. This just goes to show how losing your home turns basic human needs into a daily fight for survival. If seeing this darker side of California breaks your heart, please go ahead and drop a like on this Homeless People Stories channel. Your support really helps bring these hidden struggles right out into the light. Makes you wonder, does battling California's wild weather out on the streets make you appreciate the simple joy of heading home after a long shift? California is truly crumbling under the heavy, dark shadow of widespread substance dependency. Amidst the bleak reality of street life across the state, the trap of chemical dependency stands out as the absolute worst nightmare, trapping thousands of folks right on the pavement. Based on a 2025 study by the UCSF Benioff Housing Initiative, 37% of unhoused adults admitted they lean on illicit substances regularly, at least 3 times a week. Over the past 6 months, and the crystal stuff totally dominated the chart at 33%, completely overshadowing any other chemical escapes. Hundreds of lives are sinking deep into pure despair, totally suffocated by the crystal. Walking past those sprawling encampments hugging the Los Angeles River, or checking under the bridges up in San Francisco, the raw sights are just heartbreaking. You'll spot folks huddled up, nodding off under flickering streetlights, with hollow, dead eyes from staying awake for days on end. Their bodies are just wrecked. Some pace around restlessly for hours, jaws clenched tight, constantly mumbling to themselves while that fake chemical energy pumps right through their veins. Others huddle up in tight circles, sharing tiny glass pipes, chasing that quick high just to force themselves to stay awake, purely to guard against the muggings and street brawls lurking in the shadows. Their shaking hands grip onto whatever tiny bit of gear they have left, while their faces show the heavy toll skin all weathered, darkened, and picked at. Every single movement is completely erratic. Their minds are spinning in an endless loop, making catching even a wink of sleep totally impossible. When you're sleeping rough out on the concrete, this vicious cycle gets so much crueler. There's no quiet bedroom to crash in, no front door to lock out the storm, not a single safe corner for your body to bounce back after taking a beating from the chemicals. Every passing day just drags them deeper into an exhausting, painful routine, frantically hustling for that next fix just to numb the fear and the burnout, then totally crashing out and falling apart, where even the smallest task feels like a massive burden. A lot of folks open up about the heavy tragedies they carry around inside. It is gut-wrenching to watch your own sense of self just slowly fade away. It is a totally helpless feeling, desperately wanting to turn your life around, but finding yourself chained to severe withdrawals after surviving freezing nights out in the open. Losing that roof over your head turns what started out as a quick escape into a tight noose, completely draining both your body and your soul. Getting your hands on a solid recovery program is still incredibly rare. Beds at the local shelters are extremely scarce. The waiting lists just drag on forever, and outreach services usually crumble under the brutal realities of street survival. Looking at this on a human level, it really reminds us how fragile peace actually is. Any single one of us could get hit with a bad break, pushing us closer to the absolute edge than we ever thought possible. If getting a real look at this raw struggle touches your heart, please go ahead and smash that like button on the Homeless People Stories channel. Your kindness really helps drag more of these gritty, real-life stories out into the daylight. Ultimately, what is left for someone who has lost their safe haven, when the crystal is both their only way to cope on the pavement and the massive anchor dragging them down into complete darkness? Make sure you stick around until the very end of this video, so you can truly grasp the bitter reality that countless folks are still enduring out in California. So why does this crisis in California just keep spiraling out of control? The deep-rooted issue driving this massive wave of folks living on the streets across the state? comes down to these crushing systemic failures that ruthlessly force hundreds out onto the pavement year after year. The main culprit: skyrocketing housing costs. By the end of 2025, renting a two-bedroom apartment in California shot up to roughly $2,000, $680 a month, according to stats from the California Housing Affordability Index. Meanwhile, paychecks are completely stagnant, meaning even a steady job cannot keep a roof over your head anymore. Up in Santa Clara, a point-in-time survey from 2025 counted exactly 10,711 folks drifting out on the streets. It truly exposes how the brutal economic squeeze in these high-cost areas just strangles the life out of folks. For so many families, the downward spiral kicks off with a simple eviction notice, or a massive medical bill that completely wipes out their savings until they hit an absolute dead end. They tear up talking about that gut-wrenching moment of packing up their bags for the very last time, facing the bitter reality that they will spend the upcoming nights scrambling to find some random corner just to hide from the harsh weather. Losing your home is not just about losing a place to crash. It completely strips away your mental capacity to even plan for a better future, turning everyday life into a brutal, exhausting grind steeped in silent despair, knowing damn well tomorrow is going to be just as bleak. The real tragedy here is that just one little slip-up, a sudden rent hike, or a surprise bill out of nowhere is all it takes to wipe out years of hard work. It forces them out onto the streets, exposed to the elements and judgmental stares, all while fighting tooth and nail to hang on to whatever dignity they have left. This vicious cycle completely traps those who are already down on their luck. Finding affordable housing is next to impossible. The wait lists for assistance go on forever. And the mental toll of working your fingers to the bone just to have nothing to show for it eats away at you every single day. This crisis keeps exploding because our prevention safety nets are totally broken, turning minor hiccups into full-blown homelessness in the blink of an eye. In this series of homeless people stories, we dive deep into the everyday lives of those who've been so brutally beaten down by the system, things that cold, hard statistics could never capture. The harsh reality is that a single financial hit or a crazy swing in the housing market could literally drag any one of us to rock bottom overnight. Once you realize just how thin that line really is, it becomes a whole lot easier to show some compassion for the folks carrying the weight of the world on their shoulders. If these struggles pull at your heartstrings, dropping a like on the video goes an incredibly long way in helping us keep bringing you more homeless people stories. Sticking around right to the very end will really open your eyes to the raw reality of survival playing out across the entire state. How exactly does the massive gap between sky-high living costs and pennies in government aid quietly bleed dry families who used to have it all together, and what exactly is standing in the way of the policies meant to fix this mess? Even with massive piles of cash being thrown at the problem, the current game plans in California keep hitting massive brick walls, which completely derail any progress toward getting folks off the streets and into permanent housing. The state funding meant to tackle this crisis took an absolute nosedive from a record high of $6.9 billion back in 2022 to 2023, crashing down to a measly $1.5 billion for the 2025 to 2026 cycle. And that's straight from the California Budget Center's data, basically snapping the safety net right in half. Over in San Diego County, even though the total numbers dropped by 7%, down to roughly 9,905 people during the 2025 count, the local shelter capacity is still sitting at a pathetic 4,191 beds. That leaves thousands of people stranded out in the cold in makeshift camps, completely left out to dry without a single lifeline in sight. Damn, it is absolutely packed out here today. Hundreds of folks are dealing with the crushing reality of these half-baked relief programs, which are barely a drop in the bucket since the demand is through the roof. And the moment the funding dries up, the support vanishes too. You hear these heartbreaking stories of people finally scoring a bed for a couple of weeks, only to be instantly hit with the sheer terror of what happens next. They end up lugging whatever little they own from block to block, clinging to this impossible dream of finally finding a real home. Without a stable roof over your head, just trying to stay clean. Fight off sickness and figure out a reason to keep going is enough to completely drain your soul. It just adds this heavy, unbearable layer of shame every time the sun goes down and you've got nowhere to call your own. These roadblocks are everywhere, from totally unpredictable funding that kills off programs that actually work, to government agencies that just can't seem to get on the same page, all the way to the sheer tidal wave of folks desperate for help that completely maxes out the already crumbling shelter and temporary housing network. Over in Kern County, where the 2025 headcount tracked over 2,600 folks out on the streets, with a massive chunk of them sleeping rough. These fatal flaws in the system just keep people trapped in this endless revolving door of temporary fixes instead of actually solving the problem. You can see the raw human suffering in the way they quietly endure it all, just trying to survive another day trapped in this completely broken system. We've all got to take a hard look in the mirror and figure out how to pull together our resources and empathy to actually make a real difference for the people who are hurting the most. Just a tiny bit of help today lays the groundwork for giving someone a real safe haven tomorrow. If these stories strike a chord with you, please hit that like button and make sure to subscribe to Homeless People Stories so we can keep shining a light on these harsh, unfiltered realities from coast to coast for the folks who really need to see it. Seriously, watch this one all the way through to truly grasp the brutal, daily fight for survival playing out on the streets of California and everywhere else. What exactly happens when the folks with the biggest hearts run out of manpower and totally run out of cash, leaving the most vulnerable just sitting around waiting for a miracle that's never coming? Son of a bitch. Hey, right over here. The real key to fixing this for good, if we actually want to play the long game, we've got to stop with the band-aid fixes and start building rock-solid safety nets that actually give these lost souls a permanent place to land. Zeroing in on permanent housing backed up with voluntary support programs is a strategy that absolutely gets results. Meanwhile, California is currently dropping serious cash into setups that pair affordable units with adaptable care, tailored perfectly to what each person actually needs. Some massive grants lately, from major initiatives like HomeKey Plus in 2025, are aiming big to unlock thousands of fresh doors. It's all about pushing for a rock-solid future and making sure these folks never have to go back to sleeping on the concrete. That's my gorgeous better half right there. For so many people out here, the ultimate dream of escaping the streets is literally just having a door they can lock at night. Just a quiet little spot to safely stash their stuff, and enough breathing room to heal up and hustle for a job without constantly looking over their shoulder, terrified of being kicked out again. Hundreds of folks are out here desperately praying for that exact kind of stability after spending God knows how long roughing it on the streets, to the point where even just cooking up a hot meal or getting a full night's sleep without looking over your shoulder becomes nothing more than a distant memory. The brutal reality of not having a safe place to call your own just slowly eats away at your spirit over time, making even the smallest attempt to get back on your feet feel like pushing a massive boulder up a hill without any kind of safety net to catch you. The real long-term game plan is all about playing hardcore defense by throwing money at rent subsidies, freeing up more land for affordable units, and linking up support networks to stop the bleeding before people end up homeless, while also giving them a clear way out of the gutter. It's a push that actually respects their dignity, handing them the exact tools and the breathing room they need to get their lives back on track on their own terms. And you can see it working in the areas that are really stepping up, like certain spots out in Los Angeles County where there's been a massive drop in folks forced to sleep outside. The resources we are pouring in are already proving that not giving up can completely turn a life around. Once we finally tap into real human compassion, society will step up to catch those falling through the cracks instead of just leaving them out on the streets to fend for themselves.